Almost 2 years ago, Azerbaijan fought a war with Armenia, which resulted in it taking back 7 districts internationally recognized as part of its territory. The two countries are now working towards a peace deal, but problems still remain. I'm Andrew Hopkins, and I've been speaking to the Azerbaijani Foreign Minister, Jeyhun Bayramov, one-on-one. Foreign Minister, thank you very much for talking to TRT World. In recent months, the European Union has been mediating, if you like, between Azerbaijan and Armenia to try and bring them closer together, try and bring about some kind of peace deal. How is this process going at the moment? Are you getting close to that peace deal? And also, how about the latest fighting in the Lachin area a few days ago? How has that affected the process?
To make it clear and to explain maybe a bit about the process, right after the war, right after the end of the 44 days patriotic war and liberation of Azerbaijani territories formerly occupied by neighboring Armenia, and the implementation of 4 UN Security Council resolutions, it was Azerbaijan who originally offered in early 2021 to Armenia. Azerbaijan proposed to turn the page of the old hostility and to start working on a peace agreement. For almost a year, the Azerbaijani proposal has not been reciprocated by Armenia, and then in February 2022, Azerbaijan did another positive steps towards post-conflict normalization, and Azerbaijan provided to Armenia, originally through mediators, and then we made this document publicly available, open, the basic principles for the potential peace agreement in the future. And this move from the Azerbaijani side, it was very well received by a number of international actors, and here probably I need specifically mention the initiative and the very active role of European Union and personally EU Council President Mr. Charles Michel, who right after this organized 2 meetings of the leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan with his personal involvement and mediation. One was conducted in April, another one in late May in Brussels. And among other, let's say, dimensions of potential normalization between Armenia and Azerbaijan, the issue which you mentioned, the potential peace deal, peace agreement, it was specifically discussed and also stated in the post-meeting, let's say, statement, which was issued on behalf of European Union about the special instructions to the foreign ministers of 2 states to start working on a peace agreement. What I can say is that, unfortunately, notwithstanding to the further positive steps from Azerbaijani side, we, in several occasions, we offered Armenia to organize, to create a working group in order to deal with this issue in a more structured way. So far, Armenia is delaying the process. So from this perspective, when you say about the progress, we believe that the progress could be much better, but still we know that this is still the issue which is under discussion. Recently, on 16th of July, I had a meeting with Armenian Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzayan in Tbilisi, where, among other issues, we also discussed the potential progress in respect of these issues. And of course, European Union is also, trying to bring the positions of the parties closer. So we will see. When you mentioned about the recent tensions in Karabakh, the reason for these tensions is, let's say, another violation by Armenia of the provisions of a trilateral statement, which was signed on 10th of November after the end of the war, because based on this statement and the provision specifically referring to the obligation of Armenia to withdraw their military forces from Karabakh region of Azerbaijan, unfortunately, this process it was not implemented by Armenia, and the presence of illegal Armenian military forces in Karabakh region. This is always the source for the tension, and within the last almost a year and 9 months, in several occasions, we witnessed such tensions, and the real reason for this is, again, non-respecting by Armenia of their obligations. And on August the 3rd, as a result of another provocation in the early hours of the day, as a result of shooting from Armenian side, Azerbaijani soldier, the young Azerbaijani soldier, was killed. As a response to this, Azerbaijani military forces, of course, they took appropriate measures, and it lasted several hours on August the 3rd. At the moment, the situation is stable, but in order to avoid the possible tensions in the future, in order to have a stable situation, in order to have, let's say, very safe environment, because otherwise this is very fragile. Of course, the full implementation of the provision of trilateral statements and other agreements between the parties, they had to be fulfilled.
Azerbaijan has said that the withdrawal of Armenian troops from Karabakh is a necessity. Now, the Armenian government has said it will do that by next month. Is that an acceptable time frame for you?
If I comment only, this particular statement which we are referring to, which belongs to, if I'm not mistaken, to the Secretary of the Security Council of Armenia, Mr. Armen Grigoryan, which he made in late July, then it might be not clear what is. But if we look at the situation in context, and the truth and the situation is the following. The statement of Azerbaijan and our principal position that Armenian military forces has to be withdrawn from Karabakh. This is something which was agreed, which was written and provided in the trilateral statements, and the leaders of Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Russian Federation signed this document. And in this document, which is dated November 10, it is crystal clear provided that Armenian military forces had to be withdrawn from the region in parallel, which means simultaneously at the same time with deployment of peacekeeping forces. And if we take into account that peacekeeping forces, their deployment started on November 10 and was completed within several weeks. So the latest, by 1st December 2020, Armenian military forces had to be withdrawn from the territory of Azerbaijan. Interestingly enough, that for a quite long period of time, the leaders, the high-level state officials of Armenian political leadership, they were refusing the fact of presence of Armenian military forces on the territory of Azerbaijan, although we provided number of facts. But quite recently, several high-level officials from Armenia, they actually confirmed the still presence of Armenian military forces. The Secretary of the Security Council, this is not only him who actually confirmed this, but even his statement, this is another confirmation of brutal violation by Armenia of the provisions of trilateral statements for almost 2 years. And then when we hear now about the dates, about the September 2022, unfortunately, for us, this is at the moment is only another statement. Because for the last 2 years, we heard a lot of statements. I can name you, I am not doing this only for the sake of the time, I can name you dozens of statements of high-level state officials from Armenia, from the leadership of Armenia, very controversial, mutually exclusive. And from this perspective, the acknowledgement by Armenia of the fact of presence and another so-called commitment to withdraw them, although this is a kind of, might be considered as a positive, let's say, messages from Armenian side, but we of course want to see the real steps. And only rhetoric and only statements, it is of course not enough. We have to be sure that Armenia fulfills its obligations, and then it will, of course, positively affect the overall process of normalization.
Now, as you know, and as many people will know, Turkey and Armenia are also trying to normalise their relations, and according to what the Turkish government says, that's in conjunction with your government as well. So I'm wondering, do you welcome these latest initiatives in which they say they will open their borders to citizens of third countries? So I imagine that will be for foreign tourists, also for direct cargo flights. So do you welcome that and hope it happens as soon as possible?
Yes, you are right, and we, as you know, we openly supported the process of normalization between Turkey and Armenia. And Azerbaijan also supported this process, the establishment of special representatives, and we know that already several meetings of special representative of Armenia and Turkey happened, and of course the actions towards the normalization between Turkey and Armenia, it is very well received and supported by Azerbaijan. And from this perspective, this is another sign of Azerbaijan and Turkey being the very responsible international actors, members of international community, who look at the situation from a global view with the interest of normalization, not only bilateral ties, but the overall security environment in the region. And of course, this is not a big secret that we, Azerbaijan and Turkey, we are being the brotherly countries, we are being the allies. Of course, we are in close contacts. Of course, we are discussing all important, relevant regional and global issues. And from this perspective, of course, what is happening on Azerbaijan-Armenia track about the potential normalization, and at the same time, what is happening between Turkey and Armenia. Of course, we are, discussing this, and we are very hopeful that these recent positive, let's say, goodwill gestures from Turkey side will be rightly and correctly understood also from Armenia, and they will also take the appropriate reciprocated steps.
Okay, Foreign Minister, thank you very much.